Hi, my name is David Jassy, and I'm an artist, songwriter, and music producer from Stockholm, Sweden. Yeah. I was part of the early culture of hip hop in Sweden. I started off breakdancing, beatboxing, and later on got into rapping. So I was in Los Angeles to work as a songwriter and producer, and one night when I was out in Hollywood, I got into an altercation with another man. Unfortunately, the man died from that incident, and I was sentenced to 15 years to life for the speed murder. That is something that I'm always gonna live with. I have a lot of remorse for that incident, and it's something that I don't want anybody to go through. I have great remorse knowing of the impact for the victim, the victim's family, the ripple effect, the emotional impact, psychological impact, financial impact. There's so many victims that you don't know you commit an act, but you don't really realize how big of an impact you actually do, and the hurt that you cause your victims. What I can't do is go back in time, but what I can do is what I do with where I'm at from that point. And I made that decision pretty much early on in my sentence, and I had to really dig deep and know that there's some things within me that I need to change. I have to go and look into my childhood. Why did I commit this act? Everybody don't get into a violent situation over an altercation like that. Since my incarceration, I've been working at San Quentin in the media center, working on the YOP mixtape or the San Quentin Mixtape, and also at San Quentin working and doing all the scores along with the crew for Ear Hustle, the podcast. It's kind of interesting because when I first got to San Quentin, I saw that there was a few guys who had a keyboard, and I was really trying to get a keyboard, and nobody had a keyboard over, and they said actually they stopped the intake of the keyboards. But I ordered one anyway, and as luck would have it, the cellie that I had, he knew the guy working down there, and he was pretty much convincing him that I was going to teach him how to play piano. So he told me that I had 15 minutes to get the keyboard, that they're going to send it back. So I just ran down there, and it was just, I would say it's divine intervention. But from that moment on, when I had the keyboard, when I started making beats to myself, even though I had a life sentence and my future was uncertain, I felt like at least I can do what I love, and I can also use this keyboard for other people. And yes, we started having ciphers outside my cell. And at the time, I was also working in the media center, and we had a Pro Tools program in the computer down there, but it was a stripped down version of Pro Tools. So I really couldn't make no music on there, but I could bring my keyboard down, and I could have two channels going out from the keyboard and quantize everything in the keyboard and just put it into the computer. And I started creating in late 2013. I did a mixtape called David versus Goliath, where I just had different MCs coming on. And that was a 1 hour long mixtape that we aired on the institutional channel. And then when the youthful offender program started, more, youngsters between 18 and 23 started coming to San Quentin. And that's when the idea popped, because they were always coming by my cell and rapping. And I was like, you know what? I'm actually gonna produce a mixtape for you guys on a condition that you don't glorify this lifestyle, but instead warn younger kids about the dangers of a criminal lifestyle. You can still talk about the reality of the struggle, everything you've been through, your crime, whatever, but make sure that there's a call to action. Make sure that it's not glorifying. Make sure that it's not leading anybody to this, because this is not the lifestyle anybody want to live. I wanted to kind of show different gang members that they had a lot in common. Even though they came from different sets, I always felt like they were still brothers. When word got out on the yard that I was doing this, a lot of different shot callers started talking to me, and I had to spend a couple of laps and explain what the project was about. And, there were it's a lot of politics in prison. And at first, it was a lot of suspicion and stuff like that, what was really going on. But once people really understood and they came to the studio and they heard it, they started supporting it. And what was so fantastic about the whole thing was that rival gang members were starting saying what's up to each other now in the yard, because they had the music program in common. And they were like, you know what, man, I like dude. I don't know, but he cool. He a good rapper, you know what I mean? So they started interacting with each other. And that's what's so beautiful about music. It's a unifying factor. I recorded over 100 songs. So out of those, I just chose the best of the best. So one daughter with Fuliona Lejo, and they both grew up in Watts under, real rough circumstances. And they both told me their stories and the way they came to prison. And then one day they just popped up on my cell, super excited. And they were like, guess what? I said, what? We sat in the cell and we looked at a picture of my daughter. And we thought we should write a song about our daughters. So we just wrote it. And here it is. And they were like super excited. It's like, so when can we record it? Can we record it now? And normally I would not do that, but I was just so happy, that they had found. So we just walked straight down from my cell to the studio and recorded it.
Pretty little face, pretty little eyes, have me smiling all day. I be missing you, kissing you, might be miles away, but I'm still with you.
And it came out real cool. So that's something I will never forget. Another song I think I mentioned was Same Prison as My Grandfather with Dinero G. And that song was pretty interesting because Dinero came to San Quentin when he was 19 years old. And he started rapping the song to me, and one line stood out to me. He said, now I'm in the same prison as my grandfather.
Streets and I couldn't see it. Wish I could take it back, wish I could change things. Used to hide from the facts cause the pain it brings. Now I'm in the same prison as my grandfather. Just like him, I can't be there for my own daughter. I never listened to advice I got from my mother. Now I'm in the same prison as my grandfather.
And I said, whoa, stop, what? Your grandpa was here too? And he was like, yeah. My grandpa was here when my mom was pregnant with me, and she was only 13 years old. And I was like, wow, that's like real generational trauma. And he was like, but I want this to end with me. I want this to stop with me. I don't want to see my kids go to prison. And I think that song is real powerful. I think a lot of people are gonna resonate with that song. And Dinero G is an excellent storyteller. And it's kind of funny because we had a lot of people coming into the program visiting. We had J. Cole coming in, and Common and Kim Kardashian. But I remember that Common mentioned when he heard that song, he was like, I don't know whether I should just dig to it or if I just, if I should be sad about it, because the stories are kind of sad, but at the same time, beats are banging. So it's kind of an interesting emotion, but I think that's what good hip hop should do. It should evoke some kind of emotion inside of you. My life and my world was pretty much in San Quentin. And our end goal at the time was to be played at the institutional channel. I wanted to make a mixtape for the institutional channel, and we were talking about maybe, the Squires, we have a program called Squires where young kids come in, and I was like, maybe we can play to them, or maybe we can get a permission to get it sent out to juvenile halls and schools and just warn younger kids. But at the time, there really was no plan to put it out. That's something that organically came into effect with the help of Cut 50 with Van Jones, Alex Goodich, and Jessica Jackson. When the commutation happened, it was something that I did not expect. I pretty much was asleep, and my cellie woke me up and told them that they wanted me down by the desk. And I went in there and I got the news, and I couldn't believe it. I feel so grateful. I feel so blessed just to have the opportunity to have a second chance. We wanted to really invest in organizations that we felt were really doing a job, not just talking about it. But the reports that we were given was that they were really actively involved, and they were also feeding a lot of the kids that were actually homeless and were lost on the streets, and were trying to invest into those communities. And a lot of the guys on the mixtape come from those same communities. So it was kind of a full circle of not only, helping the people impacted of crime, but also helping the people that committed the crimes. So there's kind of like a push in both directions. And I think that if more prisons see the benefit of this program, and if this program actually works, I think they would be more open to see it. And this is the thing, like, who do you want? Most of the people will eventually parole. So the question is, who do you want as your neighbor? Do you want somebody that participated in and programs like this, and we're afforded an opportunity to actually educate themselves in whether it's college or non-violence groups, or do you want somebody that you just put in a cage and locked away? And I think that's kind of the push you have to take. There's gonna be people saying like, wow, I didn't commit a crime, I wanna be part of a mixtape and get released. But at the end of the day, what do you do with the people that's incarcerated? They will eventually parole. So don't you rather educate them, especially with the statistics saying that the more educated you are, the less likely you are to go to prison. I really believe in the benefit of this project, as well as many other projects that are in prison. But I truly believe in rehabilitation, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen so many people that enter certain programs and actually change for the better. There were so many guys in the mixtape that after being in the mixtape and seeing hope, they actually started taking college classes. They started taking self-help groups, even because they even wanted to learn more now, because now they had to expand their vocabulary. So they were like, you know what? I want to study now. I want to learn other stuff, and I want to talk about that stuff. So it really starts with a conversation. Again, it's the human story. You know, you can believe the narrative that they paint for you, or you could just look at the human side of it. And I think that's what this mixtape is really symbolizing. It's the human story.